Okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay, microphone just did not want to work properly, so I had to like reconnect it to OBS, but I think it should be fine now. It's showing the levels going up and down, so I'm just gonna assume that's working. But hello, I'm Erin, and we're back with more Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, first game, but we are on the last case of that game, with Rise from the Ashes. We're starting the day 3 of the trial. Or I guess. Yeah. Load. Yes. Alright. Should be saved in a proper place, this stream. February 24th, 9:41 a.m. District Court Defendant Lobby number 2. So, what do you think, Mr. Wright? I think the prosecution is as confused as we are. After all, the victim was murdered in 2 different places at the same time. Oh wait, that was Lana! And a suspect was arrested at each of the crime scenes. Lana! Good morning, Mr. Wright. I apologize for yesterday. I was indisposed. I hope they didn't hold you too long for questioning. We just finished, actually. I'm used to all-nighters, though. So, how'd it go? It says Mr. Wright suspects. The police are clueless. I figured as much, so I struck a plea bargain. A plea bargain? What do you mean by that? We agreed that if I told them the truth behind the simultaneous murder, they wouldn't seek capital punishment. That's what I mean, Emma. But Lana, don't tell me you... Much to my regret. I'm as much in the dark about this as they are. Miss Skye. We found trace evidence of a certain person in the police department's evidence room. They belong to Officer Jake Marshall. What kind of trace evidence? Bloodstained fingerprints, to be exact. You know, trace evidence of blood and fingerprints that point to the specific person. Just a little bit of evidence. That's the trump card I have up my sleeve today. You do understand what this means, don't you? In order to defend my sister, you're going to accuse Mr. Marshall? You have to play the cards we're dealt. Isn't that right, Miss Skye? Do what you have to do, Mr. Wright. Okay. February 24th, 10 o'clock a.m. District Court, courtroom number 9. There's a lot of courtrooms in this building. Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is... Oh, I'm afraid you'll have to clarify. It takes 30 minutes by car to reach the police department from the prosecutor's office. Yet the victim, Bruce Goodman, was slain at both places at the same time. But that's not physically possible, is it? What's more, I hear the victim from the evidence room just disappeared. Yes, and the body eventually reappeared in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. That's what I'm saying, it was transported by the car! Wow, this is one messed up trial. Except we still wouldn't know about how the time was at the same time. One of my duties as a prosecutor is to present impartial evidence. Today, I will present evidence relating to the murder at the police department. So, in so doing, I believe the way in which we should proceed will reveal itself. Now that's what sets Mr. Edgeworth apart. He sounds so on top of things. Even though he doesn't know what's going on himself. And that's supposed to be an admiral trait? Admirable. I didn't know Edgeworth joined the Navy. Very well. Let's let the trial continue. Resume. Same thing. On the day of the crime, what exactly transpired at the police department? Mr. Edgeworth, you may call your first witness of the day to the stand. For its first witness, the prosecution calls the suspect of the murder that occurred at the police department. The suspect? You mean the so-called murderer? Oh boy. Things are getting wild from the get-go. Meekins! Would a witness please state his name and occupation? Yes, sir. I'm Officer Mike Meekins, sir. My occupation is, that would be murderer, sir. Meekins, no! Unless he is the murderer. So you're telling us you're a professional killer? Sir, it was me, sir. I'm the one who did it. I'll never kill anyone again, sir. You've got to believe me, sir. What exactly did you... Sir, I'm what you would call a part of the younger generation, sir. A person whose actions adults can't possibly comprehend. Please, Mr. Edgeworth, sir. Help me, sir. Oh no, he's stuck saying sir now too. Officer Meekins. Yes, sir. Give us your report of the crime. Consider that an order. Yes, sir. As you wish. After all, I'm part of a generation that must be told what to do, sir. Can't fault him for a lack of enthusiasm. Crime report, sir. Although it's not my normal duty, I was assigned to guard the evidence room that day. I spotted a suspicious man on the security screen and rushed into the room. Where was Marshall? I was only doing what I was trained to do, sir. I was suddenly attacked. I fought for my life. Then I did it. After that, I passed out until another officer smacked me awake. So the victim, Detective Goodman, attacked you. Do unto others before they do unto you. That's the Meekins family motto, sir. I see. Then you fainted, and a colleague helped you regain consciousness by slapping you. Yes, sir. He knocked me upside the head, sir. Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination. What I need here is more info to work with. I was scrolling the guide a little bit and I was like, oh, I have to press on everything on this one. Okie dokie. Mr. Meekins, you work in the General Affairs Department, do you not? Yes, sir. I'm in charge of hiring new recruits, sir. Yikes, now there's a scary thought. Evidence transferal was taking place on the day of the crime, which meant many officers were given special tasks not ordinarily performed. I was in charge of guarding the Blue Badger, sir. The Blue Badger? Yes, sir. The lovely police mascot created by the Chief of Detectives, sir. Yay! I remember whenever I first played this on the DS, I would just kind of like leave it on one of the screens where the Blue Badger's doing his little dance. Just to like have the music playing. I was so sure it wasn't broken during the transferal process, or was to ensure that it wasn't broken. That was my sole mission for the day, sir. see. Sounds like a very, important mission. After the awards ceremony finished that day, there were so many people running around that I relocated a blue badger to the evidence room. Oh, so that's why you went into the evidence room. Tell us, what did you see when you got there? I spotted a suspicious man on the security screen in a room, not in the security room, in order to enter the evidence room. You need an ID card, am I correct? Precisely, sir. I have one right here around my neck. So then, your ID number should be listed on here, right? There it is! I found it! It's this one right here. Could you please read us the number? Yes, sir. It's 4989596. That's my number, sir. I see. Huh? But the number, blah blah blah, is showing as being used twice. Please explain, witness. It's no real mystery, sir. The first time is when I relocated a blue badger to the evidence room. And the second time was when I went to get him after everything settled down. But it's 1 minute before the supposed murder is when you went back in the second time. Isn't it? Wasn't he supposed to be killed at 5:15? I see. So it was during that second time when— oh, okay, so that was when the supposed murder did happen. Yeah, okay. Yes, sir, that's when I spotted the man on the security screen. Data added to the ID card record. So you were attacked. Can you please tell us exactly what happened to you? It was a knife, sir. A knife! Detective Goodman pulled a knife on you. What happened then? Well, with me charging in on him like that, he looked less surprised as I was. You weren't exactly the kind of person someone would want to run into. That's when I reacted, sir. I swung my arms like an octopus, struggling to detain him. That's how I got this gash on my hand. Maybe if you just kept your cool, your hand wouldn't be. When I saw the blood trickling down my arm, I panicked. I grabbed the man by his collar. Did he leave a blood stain on him? What exactly do you mean when you say you did it? I know I don't look the type, but I'm really into kung fu films, sir. The man let his guard down for just an instant, so I snatched his knife from him. You took his knife? I spun him around and performed the disarming maneuver. I made sure to close my eyes like a man. I see. He must have been desperate. The next thing I knew, his white coat was drenched in a sea of my blood. And then, the next thing I knew, yes, he punched me right in my face, sir. Wait, I want to look at some of the evidence, because he got blood all over his coat. Wait, do we not have a picture of how the body was found? I guess we don't. Does it say anything in the autopsy report? No, not yet. We just have his shoe. About what time did you regain consciousness? No offense, sir, but how am I supposed to know that? I wasn't conscious. Oh, right. According to the report from the officer that woke up the witness, it was about 5:30. He hit me right in the head, too. I woke up crying tears of pain. That's nice. I mean, it's nice that you recovered, that is. When I came around, though, I made sure to finish my mission, sir. Your mission? Yes, sir. The Blue Badger, sir. I returned him to the entrance before things got out of hand. Well, we can all rest easy now. I believe we now have a fairly accurate picture of what happened. Yes, Your Honor. Only one thing remains unclear. Was the man this officer murdered really the victim? He's got a point. Yes, Officer Meekins? With regard to that, sir, take a look at this. It was sent to my jail cell. Chief Gant delivered it to me this morning, sir. The Chief? Delivered it? What is that? A videotape? Yes, sir. That's absolutely right, sir. A videotape, sir. It contains footage from the security camera in the evidence room. What? But I specifically asked if there was such a tape, and I was told it had been mistakenly erased. That's quite a mistake. I just do what I'm told, sir. It's the only thing I'm really good at. Looks like communication with the police department is as good as ever. Well then, let's have a look. Show us the video of you murdering the victim. Oh, please stop using that word, murder, sir. It scares me. A video of a real murder? Just what are we getting ourselves into? Conveniently placed face covering. It did get blood on the coat. Why is the security camera so low in the room? Well, I believe we're all thinking the same thing. How can we deal with these unsettling feelings stirred within us? What the hell was that wriggling piece of plywood? Sir, that's the pride and joy of the entire Criminal Affairs Department, sir. It's the Blue Badger, sir. Why am I not surprised this isn't going smoothly? Security video. Video from the security camera placed in the evidence room. Added to the court record. Yes, well, anyway. This tape seems to prove that the witness did indeed encounter someone in the evidence room, and some sort of activity took place. Your Honor, instead of relying on clearly incomplete footage, the witness's testimony will suffice. Is that alright with you, Officer Meekins? Yes, sir. As you wish, sir. Oh wait, we're getting a new testimony. His face can't be seen clearly in the video. But there's no question that other person was Detective Goodman, sir. I mean, he opened a locker which required Detective Goodman's fingerprint to do so. The locker he opened is unquestionably Detective Goodman's locker, sir. So it must be him. No one else could have unlocked it. Do we know for sure that that's his locker? What's this about a fingerprint? Each detective is given a locker, equipped with a fingerprint-activated lock. These locks ensure that each locker can only be opened by the detective it belongs to. Intriguing. That would mean the victim at the crime scene would have to have been Detective Goodman. Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination. I don't know where this cross-examination will lead, but everything begins with contradictions. That's where I'll have to start. Scrolling down to... Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go ahead and keep this testimony moving along. However, the most important detail is not shown in this video, the man's face. Sir! Oops. If I may say something, sir. Please do. After all, you are the one being examined. I don't understand why the man's face is so important in this case, sir. I mean, it was his hand that opened a fingerprint lock. And it was his hand that tried to thrust a knife into my body, sir. My unsettled state can testify enough to this, sir. Yes, you have a point. The footage doesn't lie. That is. Unless the defense can find a problem with it. Mr. Wright, let's check with the court record again. Is there a problem with the security video? I assume so. We'll figure it out as we go. Regarding the video contained in this tape, there is one thing in particular that seems rather strange. Strange? This contradiction leads to the possibility that the man may not have been Detective Goodman. What? This video contains such a contradiction. Interesting. Your Honor, I have a proposal. Yes, Mr. Edgeworth? I propose we have the defense point out to us this alleged contradiction in the video. You would want me to point it out? Well, yeah. Very well. Proposal accepted. Let us further inspect this piece of evidence. I will now play the security tape. Mr. Wright, please show us this contradiction that you speak of. I have to point out a problem in the video? Yeah, Phoenix! This is the first time I've ever had to do that. You can do it, Mr. Wright. It's set up so you can fast forward, rewind, or pause the video. Just take a good look and be sure to point out the right thing. Please don't play it too many times. I can't stand watching this video. How did this guy ever become a police officer? Now then, Mr. Wright, please enlighten us. Yes, guide, enlighten me, because I don't remember. Where is the contradiction that indicates that, that this might not be Detective Goodman? Okay, pause its backspace. Let's see. Review 1 before Goodman walks over to the left side. Look at Goodman's locker. It's lit up. Presented. The locker was lit. That means it was open. Okay. The thing that's strange about this video would have to be, this. Or do I need to point at the light? I think I need my eye drops. Well, I don't get it. Would you mind if I borrowed your eye medicine? Don't look at me with those bleary eyes. Or your eyes get too teary. Perhaps we should think this through again, hmm? Play it again! Again! Just remember one thing. Every time you point your finger, someone gets hurt. So that's the one pointing his finger at us. Okay. Okay. Okay, I wasn't supposed to present that yet, apparently. Oh wait, no, it does say I need to present it. There's two things I need to present. Okie dokie. Just backspace to pause. The light? There we go. The thing that's strange about this video has gotta be this. Officer Meekins. Sir? Do you mean me, sir? As I understand it, the locker apparatus works like this. When you grab the handle, the sensor reads your fingerprint. If it's a match, the light turns on and the lock is released. According to my very limited experience, that's the way I understand it, sir. If so, then something is seriously wrong with this picture. When the victim reaches for the handle to open a locker. Let's rewind to a little earlier. It's already lit up! Here, notice the light? What's this? It's already lit. Pew, 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 pew. Precisely my point, Your Honor. The locker was already open when the victim, or before the victim grabbed the handle. Wow! Order, order! What's the meaning of this? It's very simple, Your Honor. The locker wasn't locked on the day of the crime. But the locker locks are controlled by an electronic system. When the door is shut, a sensor is triggered, and the locker is automatically locked. Oh, I know! It must have broken down. Of course, I'm not an expert in this. That's not likely, Your Honor. The sensor would detect and report any malfunction. Oh, well. Just goes to show novices should keep their mouths shut. So then, Mr. Wright, do you have an exclamation? Your Honor? Yes. Why wasn't the locker locked? Me, Your Honor? Yes, well, you see, this isn't exactly my field. What do you think, Miss Scientific Investigator? Huh? Oh, maybe something like jam the system sensor? Something jam the sensor? Say, there's something else in that. There's something else that seems out of place in this video. Yeah, I thought so too. There's gotta be another clue somewhere in this footage. Very well. Let's inspect the video once more. The locker wasn't locked. Mr. Wright, please point out... fast forward. Hurry up. Pause. Enhance. There we go. Please watch closely. This is the continuation of the part I showed you earlier. on by looking at this video a lot, apparently. They were just real excited about being able to have 3D graphics. What's this? Something white fell out of the locker. Sir! It's been my experience that things fall out when doors are opened. I often fall out and roll great distances when I open. Wait, what did he fall out of? We can't be sure. That item was completely inside the locker to begin with. What do you mean? The sensor triggers the lock when a door is shut. If something was inserted, say, between the sensor and a door, inserted. Let's look at it again. I like that they couldn't, I say like, but that they couldn't just start it right where it needs to be and they just gotta let it play out an extra 10 seconds. This white thing wasn't inside the locker. It was stuck between the door and the sensor. Oh, I understand now, sir. It's just like my tie. 2 out of 3 times to get stuck in the door when I get out of my patrol vehicle, sir. Instead of the door closing, my tie chokes me. But the object would have to be extremely thin to fit in the door. Not only that, it would also have to block electrical signals. I would need to be an insulator. Yes, an insulator, but at a crime scene. There just might have been something that fits the description. But sir, by insulator you don't mean... I think I finally got this figured out. Very well. Will the defense please present the relevant evidence? What was this insulator that was stuck in the locker door? There it is. Rubber glove. I don't need a guide for that. I found this near the locker. A thin rubber glove. But we can't be sure that was in the victim's locker. It has a tag that says SL9 incident. The video seems to depict the victim opening the locker, but that isn't the case. The lit lamp attests to this. On the day of the crime, even I could have opened that locker. This is not so, Officer Meekins. Sir? It would appear so, sir. Order, order, order. So we are to believe then that the victim, whom this witness stabbed in the evidence room, was not Detective Goodman. Do not be misled, Your Honor. What do you mean, Mr. Richworth? The defense has merely demonstrated that possibility and nothing more. The victim in this video was indeed Bruce Goodman. The prosecution will offer one more testimony to prove this. What? Officer Meekins, please testify about this. Sir? Me, sir? I'm not sure what you're referring to, sir. Oh, you mean that, sir? Of course, sir. Is this a joke? Very well. Begin your testimony. Mystery Man 2.0. Whoa, it's saying so fast. There's one other thing that proves the man was Detective Goodman, sir. To enter the evidence room, one must use their ID card. When an ID card is used, there's a record of it. By the time of the crime, the detective had used his card. Yeah, but he lost his card. An ID card record. I see. I have the ID card record right here, Your Honor. The ID used at 514 is that of the victim. Just Before the crime, Yes, without a doubt, this is the victim's ID. However, one thing does strike me as unusual. Several hundred cases should have been due for transferal. Why were there so few people using this room? This particular evidence room was only used for storing certain special cases. Special cases? Extremely violent cases involving police staff. Just hearing that makes my hair stand on end. Me too, although it doesn't make much of a difference. There were only a few cases up for transferal there, and most were cleared up by noon. Right, I see. Now, let us move on to the cross-examination. Alrighty. Start here. Is that card hanging from your neck one of those ID cards? Yes, sir. This card right next to my cuffs, sir. I keep it here so I will never forget it. What if someone were to steal it from you, keeping it out in the open like that? Maybe I shouldn't wear it around my neck. Remember when I said 2 out of 3 times my tie gets stuck in when I get out of my car? Well, the remaining time it's my ID card that gets stuck. Instead of the door closing, my ID card chokes me. Meekins. Maybe I should just leave this one alone. At any rate, each police officer only has one ID card. Both the police department and the prosecutor's office can attest to this. Please proceed with your testimony. Boop. Let it be noted that this is the record the witness referred to. Let me see. Yes, that would be it, Detective Goodman. What's the matter? According to this, Mr. Edgeworth, your name is on here. Oh yeah. So it is, Your Honor. Not that prosecutor again. Hey, maybe he's behind all this. Being a prosecutor, he could hide the evidence. Mommy, is a man in blue a murderer? Shh, don't stare at him. Got the wrong color, kid. It would seem. The inquiry committee will want to speak with you again today. No! I have nothing to be ashamed of regarding my actions or their consequences. For now, let's continue with the cross-examination. Poor Mr. Edgeworth. It must be difficult for him. Yes, this one also. Earlier, I believe you testified that when you asked the man to show his ID card, he pulled a knife on you. Yes, sir. He didn't show me any ID card, sir. Don't you think that's odd? I mean, if he had his ID card. And also in the video, he just already had his baton out and it was like approaching him in a threatening manner. I didn't see him stopping to ask for his ID card. I mean, if he had his ID card, all he had to do was show it to you. There wouldn't be any reason to draw a knife. Unless the picture doesn't match. Maybe he just panicked? Everything stems from contradictions. Let's point them out. Mr. Wright, what do you think? I'm confused. What? The problem with this ID card testimony is far too obvious. It's not like Edgeworth to miss something like this. You're thinking too hard about it. Come on. It's my voice. Come on. Let's show them what we've got. What do we got? Oh, right. Oh, I didn't have to press on those. I could present on any of those. Oh well, we still got some interesting character stuff, especially with Edgeworth getting in trouble again. We're supposed to show this. Wait one moment, Officer Meekins. I'm not good at waiting, sir. I have the victim's ID card right here. I found it at the crime scene. That makes sense. When I say crime scene, I'm not referring to the evidence room at the police department. I mean the other crime scene. The underground parking lot at the prosecutor's office. Your Honor, I have one more piece of evidence to present. It's a very important clue regarding the victim's ID card. A lost item report? It's only half completed. But it shows that Detective Goodman had lost something on the day of the crime. Something important enough to fill out this report. Let me guess. You believe this something to be his ID card, right? I can't say for sure, but there is a high probability. On the day of the crime, Detective Goodman was not carrying his card. Order, order! So now, what does this all mean? It can only mean one thing. It doesn't even require much thought. The man Officer Meekins encountered in the evidence room was not Detective Goodman, but rather the man who stole his ID card. Order, order, order! What does the prosecution have does the prosecution have a response? I have only one thing to say to the defense. Bravo, Mr. Wright. Bravo? Allow me to summarize the defense's argument. At 5:15 on the day of the crime, the man in the evidence room Officer Meekins encountered was not Detective Goodman. There are two grounds to support this. First, the locker in the evidence room was already unlocked. Second, the victim lost his ID card. Am I correct so far, Mr. Wright? Yes? What's he up to? That being the case, we must inevitably arrive at a single conclusion. If the victim in this video is fake, then the murder in the evidence room is also fake. In other words, the security camera does not show the instant of the murder. Well, I guess that's right. Is something wrong, Mr. Wright? Only moments ago you seemed content to be pointing your finger around. This isn't gonna end well. Well, well. Seems you finally realized exactly what you've gone to such lengths to prove. Explain yourself, Mr. Edgeworth. The defense has already done the explaining for me. The victim in this video is a fake, which means the murder did not take place. At the police department at 5:15 at the day of the crime. So real crime could only take place at one location, the underground parking lot. At the prosecutor's office. The murderer being Miss Lana Skye, the defendant. The evidence is compelling. A trustworthy witness observed the moment the defendant used the murder weapon. Ah! It's fine. I knew the testimony was way too shabby. It was all a trap from the beginning. What happened to seeking out the truth, Phoenix? The activity in the evidence room still leaves many questions unanswered. Who exactly was the victim that Officer Meekins encountered? And where did this person disappear to? However, this trial's purpose is to examine only the murder of Detective Goodman. Just so, Your Honor. Mr. Wright, you have to do something, or else Lana... What do I do? How am I supposed to get myself out of this one? I assume I object. Objection! One moment, Your Honor. What now, Mr. Wright? Don't tell me you're objecting to what you've just proven. Of course not. But I almost walked right into the prosecution's trap. What are you talking about? This cross-examination has proven one thing and one thing only. The security video did not show the actual murder. Uh-huh. Go on. Go on. There we go. However, cannot be said that is unrelated to murder of the parking lot. High five! Specifically, large amounts of blood traces were found in the evidence room. The defense demands further examination of the truth of the matter. Mr. Edgeworth. Yes, Your Honor. If this court were to examine this further, other witnesses will be necessary. Is the prosecution prepared? I'm sorry, Your Honor. The prosecution considered the incident at the police department to be unrelated. You have not prepared any other witnesses for this incident. This just might be my chance. Time to call a certain Texas Ranger to the stand. Oh boy. Mr. Wright, do you mean... Your Honor, the defense would like to request a specific witness. Oh? Whom do you have in mind? Someone we have reason to believe knows the truth. The truth behind the activities that took place in the evidence room. The prosecution requests to hear this person's name before deciding whether or not to comply. Very well then, Mr. Wright. This person whom you would have testify, what is their name? Texas. Who's the one that's from Texas and is obsessed with cowboys? Oh, here, maybe. If I can hit the right button. Officer Jake Marshall. Why him? Can't let Edgeworth know everything just yet. He's in charge of the evidence room. I feel we should hear what he has to say. Prosecution agrees to the defense's request. Since he was responsible for guarding the room, we should hear his testimony. Fortunately, he works in the police department. We shouldn't need longer than 20 minutes to prepare. Very well. Sorry, my voice got stuck. The court will take a 30-minute recess while the witness is subpoenaed. Is that how to pronounce it? Will the prosecution please prepare the witness during this time? We will, Your Honor. Court is now in recess. February 24th, 11:32 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 2. There's no stopping you, is there, Mr. Wright? Huh? What do you mean? You called for Jake Marshall. It seems you figured everything out. Oh, I haven't figured anything out. Lana, you're the one who knows everything. Emma, you always know everything. Why don't you just tell us? Mr. Wright is trying his hardest to protect you. I don't recall ever asking for his protection. How could you be so cold? Don't you trust us? You trust me? Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? You've got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run all around while on duty. And to top it all off, call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. Sorry, detective. You better be, pal. Hey, hey! I didn't see you there, Chief Prosecutor Sky. That's okay. So, have you brought what I asked? Oh. You mean this, right? Gumshoe. My apologies, detective. Due to my present circumstances, I was forced to use Mr. Wright's name when making my request. My name? Never in a million years would I have thought it was you who asked me. Could I bother you to bring me the SL9 incident files? I'll need them by noon. Talk about crazy. The SL9 incident? Balana, that's... I thought Mr. Wright would need them, so I had them brought here. Here, you might well do to read them. I can't believe you, the chief prosecutor, were a witness in that case. Miss Sky was a witness? SL9 incident files. Files for the Joe Drake killing solved 2 years ago. Received from Lana Sky. Take it from me, you don't want anything to do with serial murders. Oh, now that I brought you your stuff, you're just gonna ignore me? Emma? But why is your name in here? What? My name's in there? I don't know. Unless... No, it couldn't be. Lana, this SL9 incident, is that... That's the classification number the police filed it under. 2 years ago. The rest of the world knew it as the Joe Drake killings. The Joe Drake... No, Lana! That's over with! No! Emma, wait! She ran away. You know what? I just remembered. I gotta be somewhere. Sorry, pal, but I'm out of here. Gumshoe! Jake Marshall, Angel Starr, Damon Gant, Miles Edgeworth. Not to mention Lana and Emma. Everyone involved in this case is connected to those killings 2 years ago. This can't be just a coincidence. Knowing you might be able to figure it out. Time to get back to the trial, Mr. Wright. Best of luck. I'd better take a good look at this file. I probably should have done it on that screen. To be continued. We'll do it. Once we get back in. Yes, save. Thank you. Alright. I want to let it load in and then look at the file, and then we can go on our 10-minute break. February 24 at 12:14 p.m. District Court, courtroom number 9. Just a second, Judge. Just a second. Let's look at this. Alright. Incident number SL9. Closed. Perpetrator Joe Drake. Crime. Serial murder. Sentence. Death. Victims: Edward Jones, Jason Knight, Edith Kirby, Rachel Moss, Jeb Bates, and Neil Marshall. Oh! Neil Marshall! Head Prosecutor Miles Edgeworth, witness Lana Skye, or witnesses Lana Skye and Emma Skye. That's under the trial data page. Investigation Task Force. Executive Investigators Damon Gant and Lana Skye. Head Investigator Bruce Goodman. Investigators Jake Marshall and Angel Starr. There's a lot of, what's the word? Conflict of interest, since Lana was both a witness and an investigator, and it seems like Jake's brother might have been one of the victims. Okay, well, actually I don't know if that's how a conflict of interest works or not. I don't know how that works in police stuff. But we'll go ahead and go on break, and so I'll see y'all in 10 minutes. Hello and welcome back. Perfect. The court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. Oop, I'm not clicked in. There we go. Emma didn't come back. Allow me to call the next witness to the stand. The officer in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day of the crime. I'm gonna drink more water real quick. Alright. Witness, please state your name and occupation. Oh boy. I'm not gonna remember. I'm gonna fall back into it later as I go. Me, partner? Well, I'm just a man same as you, wandering around the trails of civilization. Occasionally helping the elderly cross intersections when needed. Yes, we get it. Oh, I know. You're a patrolman. As for my name, if you listen hard enough, you can hear the howling wind call it out. To be exact, it's Jake Marshall, Your Honor. Howling wind? Never heard Edgeworth described that way before. Now, Mr. Marshall, let me ask you something. You were in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day that the crime took place. Is this correct? According to the papers, partner. What do you mean? A desperado's soul is as boundless as the desert sands. No paper can sum it up. Maybe it's best we get on with this quickly. Please, share with us your testimony of the day of the crime. In plain old English. Rude. But also, Jake continues to be so difficult to read for. Day of the crime. My job was to keep a wary eye on that bone orchard. They said I was supposed to make the rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. Besides, the room's protected by 2 security systems anyway. If I remember right. I keep smiling because it's like, every time he shows up, I'm just like, I can't with him. Cries. I was at the street side saloon and time went down. I'm just an innocent traveling man, so if you're out of ammo, it's time to hit the trail. I can't say I particularly care for your attitude. Can't say I care for your beard, but you don't hear me complaining. Wait a minute. What do you mean by 2 security systems? Yeah, I was gonna say the cameras in the door, Phoenix. I mean the security cameras and the ID card reader. I reckon even a cowpoke like you knows about those. Yes, well, what about the fingerprint-activated locks on the evidence lockers? Fingerprint-activated locks? What kind of newfangled doohickeys are those? You used to be a detective. Unless it's like newly installed, I think you knew about it. He's not being very helpful. He's not that good with machines, or with following orders. Everyone's got their weaknesses now, don't they, Mr. Prosecutor? I was gonna say, why didn't they fire him for shirking his duties, but then I feel like keeping him on was probably part of the sort of retribution that happened against that group of detectives. Isn't that what happened? Like one of them, yeah, because the lunch lady got fired, and then he got demoted. Marshall did. This one seems like trouble. Okay, Mr. Wright, he's all yours. Thanks. Day of the crime. Okay, what do we need to look at? I'm just gonna go straight for the evidence. So we have here fingerprints. That's this one, right? Marshall's fingerprints. He's probably gonna be like, well, you don't know it's from that day. Officer Marshall, doesn't it strike you as odd? That is, you being called in to testify like this. After all, you weren't in the security room at the time of the crime. Yet you dragged me down here. Explain yourself, partner. It's quite simple. You left a very large trail behind at that scene. Or, to be exact, a handprint. Huh. Listen real good, partner. Like I said, I'm the caretaker of that crypt. I pay my respects. That is, make my rounds about once a month. It's only natural my fingerprints would be in there. I only wish it were, officer. But you see, your fingerprints were covered in blood. Witness, what's the meaning of this? Your blood-stained fingerprints were at the scene of the crime? The blood was wiped away, however, a luminol test clearly revealed this. Well, Officer Marshall? Seems to me, there ain't a person in this room with a head on his shoulders. I take it you have an exclamation then, Officer Marshall. About the blood-stained fingerprints. Very well. You may begin your testimony about your fingerprints. Found at the scene of the crime. There's so many in this case where the sentences are cut between two boxes and it's weird sometimes. Bloodstained fingerprints, because I don't feel like the main part of the game had that much like that. Like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in that evidence room. One of them just happened to be at the same place as a bloodstained handprint. The murderer touched a locker where my fingerprint was by chance. Bloodstain and a fingerprint are completely unrelated. Or didn't you know the murderer was wearing gloves? See, I had nothing to do with it. The witness's explanation appears valid, although there is room for doubt. Life wouldn't be as fun without any doubt, partner. The defense may now cross-examine the witness. This guy's hiding something. I can feel it. Now's my chance to prove it. Alright. Starting with this one. That's because you, how did you put this? Pay your respects once a month? Yeah, that's right. That and one more thing. That locker happens to be mine. What? What do you mean? I mean what I said. That's locker when I was a detective. Locker I still use. All that's in there now, though, is a heap of broken dreams. I see. It'd be strange if my prints weren't all over that locker. Apparently, his fingerprint data was never removed from that locker's programming. He must have been using the fingerprint lock all this time without ever knowing it. Update in the court record. Oh, that it was on Marshall's own locker. We gotta go to 2, 3, 4, 5. Press. How do you know that? I may be a loner, but I still do my job. I keep up on reports. There was a blood stain at the scene, thought to be left by the murderer. That's right. It was found on Detective Gumshoe's locker. However, no fingerprints were detected on that handprint. Oh yeah, I think we tried that too. So that would mean the murderer, wearing gloves, happened to place their hand on top of Officer Marshall's fingerprint. That's the only logical conclusion. Are you starting to get the picture, partner? The picture? The seal of blood. In the desert, it's just food for the buzzards. There's only one reality, and that's this. The security tape. As long as my trial ain't in there, you can't say otherwise. This isn't getting us anywhere, Mr. Wright. Please consider carefully where you're going with this cross-examination. Yes, Your Honor. Now then, continue your testimony, Officer Marshall. New statement. What do you mean by that? You want to tie this to... Well, you want me... Wait. You want to tie this... Wait. You want to tie me to this crime, ain't that right, partner? If so, that video is the only direct evidence you have. But that video is next to useless. It's full of blind spots. Blind spots? Places you can't see. Thank you for talking while it's going. The camera's panning back and forth. The floor isn't shown. If someone was familiar with the camera's position, they could leave the room without being caught on tape. We don't have time for your speculations, Mr. Wright. Well, Mr. Wright, can you show us evidence this video that indicates Officer Marshall was present? Please do now. Please do so now. I completely read that wrong, but whatever. I assume we gotta show evidence. Very well. Allow me to point out your mistake, Officer Marshall. Tread carefully, Mr. Wright, or you might wind up being the one making the mistake. Now then, let's have another look at that video. Yeah, I want to look at what I actually have to do first. Okay. Show us this incriminating evidence of the witness, Officer Jake Marshall. Fast forward. Oop. Not yet. button to go. There we go. Bringing our attention back to security. Bringing our attention back to the security camera. It's a mistake I'm afraid you'll soon not forget, Officer Marshall. Days are short in Texas. They are? Are you sure? I am here right now. It's a little overcast, but so are our tempers. Could you sum up what you had to say in 8 words or less? Very well. You can clearly be seen in this video. Exactly 8 words. Not bad, partner. The key lies in a certain locker shown in the video. Oh, I get it. That locker with the white cloth sticking out. That was the witnesses, I believe. Now then, let's rewind the video a bit. Oh, white cloth. It's gone. What is the meaning of this, Officer Marshall? When the crime took place, white cloth wasn't there. Then, it suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence room at the time of the crime. What's more, you opened your locker when the camera was turned away. I like that his spurs look like heels. Oh, I missed him. Hold your horses. Sorry, partner. You got the wrong man. So what if my locker was opened? That don't mean I'm the one who opened it. Murderer needed to hide something, so he opened the locker and stuck it in. Oh, so he doesn't know about the fingerprint? It's not my fault he happened to choose mine. Uh-oh, everybody knows. Why is everyone staring at me like I'm a wanted man? This guy isn't just playing dumb. He really doesn't know. I hate to rain on your parade. You're the only person who can open that particular locker. Oh yeah? I'll call your bluff. You say I opened that locker. Now, prove it. What do we have as evidence for the locker? We have so much stuff in our pockets. Okay. Oh, here we go. Yeah, just have the evidence locker straight up here. Fingerprint sensor. We talked about this earlier today. Lockers can only be opened by the detectives they belong to. What kind of crazy talk is this? Well, Detective Gumshoe did mention something about this. In any case, locks aren't that obvious. There are even some people on the force who don't know about the fingerprint locks. So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or less? I only got 1 word for you, partner. No! Order, order, order. Witness, explain yourself. This is a joke. It's the worst I ever heard. I assure you, this is no joke, Officer Marshall. Now then, please tell us, what you were doing in the evidence room at the time of the crime. Olay, please answer the question. What is he now, a bullfighter? That's all right, Officer Marshall. I believe we can figure the rest out from here. We can? Have a look at these floor plans. There was no place for someone to hide in the evidence room. Yet, Officer Meekins didn't see Officer Marshall. If that's so, then where was the witness? Seems Mr. Wright has an answer. That's right. The only possible conclusion. Well then, let's hear it. Where was Officer Marshall at the time of the crime? Okay, are we assuming that Goodman is labeled as the victim, right? And that Meekins is labeled as the killer? Or quote-unquote Goodman? Officer Marshall was standing right here. There? But that's where the victim, Detective Goodman, was. Correct. Unless the man wasn't Detective Goodman. I believe the victim in the video is Officer Marshall. It was you, dressed up like Detective Goodman. But that's preposterous. Officer Meekins witnessed a detective at the crime scene. Once he saw the man's face, he'd know for sure. May I point out, though, that Officer Meekins did not know Detective Goodman. He also testified about the man's reaction when confronted. When I entered the evidence room, I asked him to show his cards, sir. Yes, and how did Detective Goodman respond? He suddenly pulled a knife on me. Something about the officer's story puzzled me. If the man had his ID card, why didn't he just show it? Yes, he would have needed it to enter the evidence room, so he must have been carrying it. The answer is simple. He couldn't show it. You see, as you can see, Detective Goodman's picture is on this ID card. Oh, I get it. If he showed him that, his cover would have been blown. Officer Meekins would have realized that the man wasn't Detective Goodman. Do you have anything to say to this, Officer Marshall? You've got quite an imagination, partner. We got a term for that. It's called circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence? He's still denying it. You're gonna have to do better than that to break a detective. Unless you have hard evidence proving I dressed up as the victim. I can't say I particularly care for your uncooperative disposition. I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining. Well, Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that Officer Marshall dressed up as the victim? Well, who am I kidding? I don't have anything like that. I can see the fear in your eyes, partner. Seems you're the one who couldn't take the dessert heat. I'm gonna keep it. This can't be happening. It's so obvious he's the one. What can I do? Huh. It looks like your lack of experience has finally been exposed. I'll pass on to you what someone told me when I was just starting out. When you've run into a wall with no place to go, return to the basics. The basics? I gotta talk to Mia! For me, that would be what Mia used to tell me. Phoenix, try thinking outside of the box. I shouldn't look for proof that Officer Marshall was in disguise. Rather, I should look for evidence that came about because he was in disguise. Hmm. Why do you think this locker was open in the first place? What do you mean? There's no reason for Officer Marshall to open his locker at the time of the crime. Yet he did, despite the chance it might be discovered later, as it has been. Which means he didn't originally plan to open his locker. According to the defense's argument, Officer Jake Marshall dressed up as Detective Goodman at the time of the crime. Then, after the crime was committed, he opened his own locker for some unknown reason. Dropping something off? No, wait. If it's a white cloth, most of Goodman's outfit was white, so did he like take off his bloodstained coat or something? The fact that a white cloth is sticking out the locker seems to indicate that he opened it in order to put the cloth inside. So, just what exactly is this piece of cloth? Perhaps the video is the key to all of our unanswered questions. I don't have any evidence, so this video is my only shot. Very well. Let's take yet another look at the security tape. Alright. After committing the crime, the witness opened the locker to put away the white cloth. Please show us why the witness had to open his locker. Fast forward! The blood! For some reason, you disguised yourself as Detective Goodman and entered the evidence room, though I don't know to what end, yet. However, something unexpected happened. Officer Meekins barged in on you. When asked to show your ID card, you pulled a knife on him. However, Officer Meekins panicked, and the white coat you were wearing was soiled with blood. A bloody white coat. You couldn't just walk out like that, so you hid the coat in your locker. Not bad, partner. Quote-unquote partner. Now then, Officer Marshall, are you ready to tell us the truth? Looks like I underestimated y'all. I hope you're happy now, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, if you were only half as persistent then as you are today, y'all wouldn't have to be here now would we? Officer Marshall, tell the court what you did. All of it. Alright. Seems the time has come. Marshall's confession. Had to do it that day. Couldn't just stand by and let it die. I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. Planned to take out the evidence. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out. He managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on a camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. But there was at 5:16. So the supposed victim was really you. But there's one thing I still don't understand. Traces of a large quantity of blood were found on the floor in the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then how could that be? Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. My guess is he's the donor. It was way too much blood for such a small donation. He's very generous. Alright. Pressing on everything, apparently. When you say it, you mean... Do you even have the ass partner? The SL9 incident. 2 years have passed since that case was closed. It was going to completely end on that transferal with the transferal that day. Not if I have anything to do with it. That incident ain't over yet. But what did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room? When a case is closed, only that case's lead detective can look through the evidence. I wanted to have a look at it myself one more time, no matter what the cost. I don't care what anyone says, partner. That case is mine. But Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of that investigation. Why does he care so much about it? That day was my last chance. That's why. Stole the ID and dressed up like him. Why did you disguise yourself as Detective Goodman? If I didn't make it look like Detective Goodman was carrying out the evidence transfer, I'd be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me nowhere. So you did it to fool the security camera. And the detective's ID card. I stole that the morning of the incident. So that really was why Goodman started filling out that lost item report. I returned his ID card. I left it on the floor of the prosecutor's parking lot. The ID card I found was left there by Officer Marshall. So essentially, you managed to succeed despite your lack of foresight. What do you mean, partner? I mean, the fingerprint-activated lock, of course. No matter how well you disguise yourself, you can't change your fingerprints. Under normal circumstances, you wouldn't have been able to open that locker yourself. But you could because a rubber glove just happened to get stuck in the door. That means Detective Goodman must have opened the locker before Officer Marshall. You pulled a knife on Officer Meekins and tried to drive him off? Let's just say I was a little surprised. I only planned on being in the evidence room for no more than 5 minutes. I didn't think anyone would actually come in during that short time. Officer Meekins certainly is a one-in-a-million type of person. Mistaking a detective for an intruder and demanding to be shown his ID. I'll have to think a little more about his raise this year. How did Edgeworth get so much influence? Anyway, threw himself at me and I ended up cutting him slightly. Sorry it had to turn out that way. Me knocking him out and everything. By the way, what happened to your knife? Oh, you mean this one? I don't know what to say. So you knocked Officer Meekins out and I managed to escape. Press. There we go. You knew where the cameras wouldn't look. So you did your research beforehand. Those who go in the desert unprepared don't live long, partner. I didn't think it would make much of a difference though. Security tape is erased every 6 hours. If all had gone to plan, no footage would have been left. However, you bloodied your coat in your struggle with Officer Meekins. If someone was in the security room when I came out, the jig would have been up. I opened my locker and stashed it in there. What was Officer Meekins doing during that time? What else? He was sleeping like a baby. So what you're saying is, on that day, no murder at 5:15. But the blood found at the scene clearly indicates a crime took place. What are you, blind? The victim shown in that tape is me, and I ain't dead yet, partner. So you stole the evidence from the locker. Actually, no I didn't. Why not? When I opened the locker, the evidence was already gone. Gone. It was gone, guys. What? Mr. Edgeworth, where is that evidence? It's still missing, Your Honor. Detective Goodman's locker was already empty. Someone else stole the evidence. Officer Marshall, may I ask you one thing? Fire away, partner. It's free country. Just remember, I'm also free to decide whether or not to answer. Why did you do this? Stealing a detective's ID, injuring a police officer? This is no small offense. Moreover, you're an officer yourself. This will have serious consequences. It can't just be forgiven with a simple cut in salary. Not that salary cuts are ever a valid solution. Like I said, this ain't your case. This one's mine. And I'll do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with. The witness has an unusual amount of zeal. Let's hear more. The sudden music change. I can't just forget the SL9 incident. You know why? Hold it! Tell us why! That case was solved 2 years ago, wasn't it? That's the reason the evidence was stored in the evidence room. Joe Dark was convicted for his crimes. One thing I can say for sure is he deserved his sentence. I remember the Joe Dark case. It involved serial murders, didn't it? I don't intend to complain about how it turned out. There's something that still bothers me. Something went down at that trial. Something no one will talk about. What happened? I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out. Why is he so concerned with that incident? Maybe I should present him with what I think is the real reason is. I've had a feeling we'd wind up here sooner or later. Everyone involved here is related in some way to that case. Better take another look at the files. Present. Stack of paperwork. Officer Marshall, I think I understand. I think I know why you care so much about the SL9 incident. Sounds like you've been sipping too much cactus juice, partner. Is that an Avatar reference? I'm like trying to think of the timeline. I think this came out before that, question mark. I can't remember. I have the SL9 incident file here. The name, Marshall, is mentioned in here. In a list of murder victims. Neil Marshall. Are you related to this man? Neil Marshall? Yeah, I'm sure you heard the name. 2 years ago, he received the same lousy prosecutor award you got. What? A prosecutor? You must be talking about the King of Prosecutors Award. Now I remember. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He handled the SL9 case before I did. That's right. He was killed. And the case fell right into your hands. But what's his relation to you? He was my brother. He was investigating the murders with Damon Gant, then Deputy Chief of Police. The group of detectives I was part of worked under them. We were desperate to prosecute the killer. Joe Dark. My brother fought Dark and was killed. That was the first time Dark left behind any evidence. That's all we needed. He was arranged and incarcerated. I can't say it. I'm sorry, I ruined the mood. The case was finally closed. At least, according to the public records. What do you mean? My brother couldn't have been killed by Joe Dark. Uh-oh. I knew my brother better than anyone. No one could have beaten him in a fight. And that's it. That's your reason for your insane actions? There's more to my brother's death than what the records say. No matter how much you try to hide it, you can't fool me. Well, at least one thing's for certain. Now we know what happened at the police department on the day of the crime. That was the last day the SL9 case could have been reopened. Not satisfied with its resolution, Officer Marshall planned to steal the evidence. Disguising himself as Detective Goodman, he entered the evidence room. Officer Meekins confronted him and rendered him unconscious and fled. So he rendered him unconscious and fled. Yes, this mystery has finally been cleared up. No murder took place at the police department that day. The things that happen by chance never cease to amaze. At exactly the same time as the murder at the prosecutor's office, this fake murder was going on at the police department. Chance? It's gotta be more than just that. So if no one was murdered at the police department on the day of the crime, that means the murder in the prosecutor's office parking lot was the real one. Which in turn means the only person who could have committed the crime, Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye. But wait, verdict wasn't reached at yesterday's trial. Which is why we examined the incident at the police department today. But there's only one reason the defendant was not convicted yesterday. There yet remained the mystery of the simultaneous murder at the police department. Seems to me, the boys got the draw on you, partner. All of the mysteries at the police department have been resolved, no doubt about it. Our sole murder took place at the prosecutor's office. The only suspect is Lana Skye. And the testimony of Miss Angel Starr is completely incontestable. If you have a response, make it a single word or less. Ah! That's not a word, it doesn't count. I rest my case. It seems this trial has reached its conclusion. There is no room for doubt. Well done, Mr. Wright. Thanks to you, I needn't waste my time. disproving the alleged murder at the police department. There's no doubt what I proved today is true. The apparent murder on the security camera's tape really was fake. But I didn't realize that it would end up proving Lana guilty. Now then, time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant. Hold it. Your Honor, wait. Emma. The defense has an objection. A scientific objection. Right? What do you mean, right? Mr. Wright. Are you this girl's guardian? Your Honor? Oh no, not in that sense. Please, Your Honor. All I'm asking for is a minute of your time. Please hear me out. Mr. Edgeworth, please. I don't want to leave any loose ends. You want a minute? I'll give you 3. Ooh, so generous. I was kind of in shock. I mean, finding out the SL9 incident referred to the Joe Dark killings. Now that she mentions it, the names of both Sky Sisters were in that file. That's when I figured it out. I mean, what Officer Marshall was trying to do that day. So I knew his fingerprint had nothing to do with the crime. That left only one thing. The other handprint. I mean the traces of blood found on Detective Gumshoe's locker. But no fingerprints were found on it, right? No, but I figured if I examined it scientifically, I'd be sure to find a clue. So I ran over there and looked at it again. Did you find something? No. Huh? Sorry, I guess I'm not much of a scientific investigator after all. Is that all? Please don't be mad. I'm just a high school student. I'm just an attorney. But, Mr. Wright, those traces of blood are the only clue we have. If we can't find something wrong with them, please, Mr. Wright, you're a professional. If anyone can save Lana, it's you. Me? Oh boy. Time's up. Now then, Mr. Wright. With regard to the incident at the police department, does any reasonable doubt remain? It appears the defense is troubled by the other blood mark. Looking at the floor plans, a handprint was discovered around here. Is there a problem with this? Mr. Wright, I'm sorry I can't be of more use, but still. If you can't find anything wrong with that blood mark, Lana will be. Please answer my question, Mr. Wright. You don't have all day. Yes, Your Honor. If I ever needed to show If ever I've needed to concentrate, it's now. What could be wrong with that handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker? Could there be something I'm missing? Object. This handprint left at the scene of the crime clearly shows a contradiction. The only thing that seems clear is that you're grasping, Mr. Wright. You've been staring pretty intently at those floor plans. Tell me, is there a problem with them? Yes, this is strange. Take a good look at these floor plans. Something is missing. Missing? You mean something hasn't been drawn on there? Yes. Something that when drawn will completely change the meaning of this blood mark. Let us pray that the defense isn't simply trying to buy time. Very well, Mr. Wright. With all this evidence here, there's gotta be something I can use. The question is, which item can prove something is missing from the floor plans? What about that piece of plywood? The Blue Badger, mascot of the police force. Defender of truth, guardian of proof. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. Please look at the floor plans of the crime scene. The Blue Badger is not on here. So? So watch what happens when we put him in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime. Oop. Well, what? Gasped! He actually gasped! That's right. So long as the Blue Badger is dancing here, it would be impossible to place a handprint at the spot on the locker. What? So that means, what exactly does that mean? It means it can't be done. What are you saying? Blood traces were undeniably found on that locker. Don't look at me, I didn't put it there. Mr. Wright, think through it scientifically. Emma, on that afternoon, Officer Meekins was the one who brought that Blue Badger to the evidence room, right? After he put it down, it would have been impossible to leave a handprint on that locker. So that must mean this blood mark was left here before the Blue Badger was brought in. Just one moment. I will not allow such far-fetched balderdash in my courtroom. It may sound far-fetched, Your Honor, but it's the only possible explanation. On February 21st, in the police department's evidence room, blood was spilled not once, but twice. But how? One time was captured on this tape, taken by the security camera. Officer Meekins cut his hand, from which a trivial amount of blood fell. Problem is, the other time. Go on. Someone bled prior to the struggle, shown on tape. It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. That's ridiculous. I refuse to accept your absurd claim. The murder portrayed in the security tape has been proven to be fake. However, that does not explain the blood mark found on the locker. So then, assuming this murder you propose really happened, when did it take place? I demand you show evidence that proves when it occurred. When did the first incident occur? To summarize, the defense claims that prior to Officer Meekins being cut by Jake Marshall, who was posing as Detective Goodman, another incident took place in the evidence room. That's right. The blood mark on the locker proves this. Very well. Then tell us, when did this first incident take place? As Mr. Edgeworth said, proof must be presented. Proof that shows when the murder took place. There's only one piece of evidence that can show that. Now then, will the defense please present its evidence? What shows when the first crime took place? Guessing it's this one. Is there still one entry that we don't know? If the crime took place inside the evidence room, then the killer would have had to enter it. And in order to do so, An ID card would have been required. An ID card? Oh! The ID card record. Yeah, because if somebody came in and stole the evidence before Marshall could have stolen the evidence, then yeah. Officer Meekins brought the Blue Badger panel to the evidence room at, let's just see here, 4:50 p.m. I almost read that wrong. If the crime took place before that time, then it would be, oh, that was Judge. 4:40. Ah! 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 Miles Edgeworth, just what have you done? I never would have figured you had a nerve, boy. Drop the act, witness. Doesn't take a lot of thought to figure out it couldn't have been me. Nope, I ain't getting it. I'm afraid I don't understand either. It's clear from the luminal test that blood was there. However, when the second crime took place, both Officer Meekins and Officer Marshall failed to notice the blood. That means the blood from the first crime was wiped away by the real murderer. I would have had just 10 minutes to murder the victim, carry his body away, and clean up the blood. Unfortunately, that's physically impossible. That would mean the crime must have taken place before Mr. Edgeworth entered the room. Let's take a look at that chart again. There's only one other card number remaining. 77777777. Talk about a lucky number. But wait, that doesn't make sense. How could Detective Goodman have entered the evidence room? Since there's no record of his card being used beforehand, he must have entered along with the real murderer. That's the only plausible explanation. He went in with 777777. Mr. Edgeworth, please look into this ASAP. ASAP. Find out whose ID number is 77777777. That's 17 too many, Your Honor. Unfortunately, I'm unable to look at the owner of the ID card. At least at present. What? Explain yourself, son. The ID number 7777 belongs to someone with the rank of captain or higher. Someone who is a so-called executive officer. We don't have authority to inquire into such a person's identity. But that's ridiculous. Just how... I'm not finished talking, Mr. Wright. There was one situation in which we can be granted such authority. If an official charge is filed against the executive is accepted. An official charge? You're all alike, aren't you? With your cover-ups and your forgeries. That's how the prosecutor's office operates. I take pride in my work, Officer Marshall. I would appreciate it if you would keep your slander to yourself. Slander, is it? Okay. Let me ask you a question. Yes. No, not you. Her. The defendant sitting over there. Your own little executive. Lana? Don't be stupid. She's been charged with murder. Of course we looked up her ID number, and it's not Sevens. Don't play me for a fool, partner. That's not what I want to ask. All I want to know is one thing about that incident. The SL9 incident? Answer me this, Chief Prosecutor. In that trial 2 years ago, Did you really only use legitimate evidence? Do you need the witness to repeat his question, Chief Prosecutor? I heard him fine, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, I was in charge of the prosecution for that trial. At the time, occasionally, we felt the powerlessness of the law. At least, I did. Lana. I became a prosecutor in order to suppress crime with the law. But before I realized it, we were the ones being suppressed by the law. Defendant, just what are you saying? I'll ask you again, Chief Prosecutor. During that trial 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Can you look me, an investigator in that crime, in the eye and say that you did? Chief Prosecutor, you didn't. I don't have to, Officer Marshall. Why won't you answer him? Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. Balana! Even if it involved forging evidence. See, that's what I'm talking about. No. No! Order, order, order! Order! Lana's remarks caused such a stir. The chaos in the courtroom could not be quelled. The conclusion of the trial would have to wait until the following day. To be continued. It's like, I remember bits and pieces of stuff, but I'm still like, oh my gosh, at all the twists and things, or at least most of the twists. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap up here, because my voice is starting to go quite a bit. Go ahead and make extra sure that that's saved. Ugh. Okay. What day is it? It's 26. I think we should be back on schedule again, even though I said that last time also and ended up having something come up. But as usual, I'll keep y'all updated on social media if anything changes. But for now, thank y'all for hanging out. I'm excited because we're getting like deep into the meat of this case. Yeah, we're like a little past halfway through, so this is gonna be like the real what's the word I'm looking for? Just everything ramping up, I guess. The technical term. But yeah, thank y'all for hanging out, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye bye.